Hi, I'm Sim,
Hi, I'm Patrick,
and
and we're
we're
Wizard
Wizard
Core.
Core, a duo of friends that like to get scared and watch spooky movies together.
Correct, Sim. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about VHS Beyond, the
Ooh.
newest entry in the VHS anthology movie series.
And you haven't seen any of the
No,
other
I haven't seen any of
VHSs.
them. I liked this one. I liked I don't think I liked all of them.
Mm-hmm.
They're definitely, as usual with anthology things. There were definitely highlights. Um, But as usual, Sim, you are much better at remembering like the exact order of things and whatnot. But I know the first,
Well, what I want to start off with is I'm a huge fan of the VHS series. I
yeah,
love VHS. It goes VHS 1, 2, Viral, and then I think it went to 94, then 99, and then 84, and now Beyond. And so I've watched all of them up until this point, and I love the series. I would love to do uh
one
to
of them.
watch all of them at one point and kind of do an
Oh,
episode on all of them. At least subjugate you to the rest of them. It's
yes.
kind of like the vibe. Some of them, like I'll talk more about my placement of it within the other VHS movies at the end, but yeah. So the wraparound story in this one is called Abduction and Adduction. Um, and to be honest, I think it's probably the weakest one in
Yeah,
my opinion.
yeah. It
Um,
started out pretty interesting and cool.
it's played off like a documentary style, like they're interviewing people and about this house that belonged to some family, and the was it the youngest son or the oldest
It
son
was the oldest son.
is had something to do with aliens, and then they're
Hmm.
talking about, and he had all these tapes. um
Yeah, basically, the oldest son inherits this mansion and he from his parents who were immigrants and whatnot that were like wealthy and became wealthier when they moved to America, and when they died he inherited it and lived in it by himself, and he began using this. It's supposed to have taken place in like the 90s or something like that, or maybe the early 2000s. So he was getting creeped out because weird things were happening to him. So he began taking VHS recordings of himself and the home, and there were two specific videotapes, one labeled Proof 1 and the other Proof 2. One was like a static camera angle, and the other was supposed to be like it was attached to his. He wore like a thing on his head that
mm-hmm.
would record what he was looking at. But that was like the overall, like it kept coming in and out
Yeah,
in between the
I
shorts.
also think comparatively to the other ones, it's the weakest out of all the other VHS movies, the weakest wraparound story too, which is surprising, seeing that this is actually one of the better VHS movies.
Yeah.
Um, and it's the weakest story in this movie, and it's the weakest like wraparound story overall. And I guess in my maybe I'd have to rewatch them, but just from what I from the other ones, I remember the other ones pretty strongly, but except probably not whatever the one Flying Lotus was one of the directors, and he directed a really fucking weird one
Mm.
with the dude who played Trevor from GTA. I think was in it.
Stephen Ogg.
Yeah, oh god. Do you know who Flying Lotus is?
I've heard of
He's
him.
a musician
Yeah.
who makes really weird shit. Um,
Yeah. Well, the first one is actually
Stork.
it's called Stork. It's based off of a Reddit thread, essentially,
Well,
like
it's
a
a
like a
it seems
subreddit.
I don't. It's not a subreddit. It's a series of art posts
Mm.
this artist did by Olag. I forget his full name. I'm looking it up, but you
While
can
you're looking that
continue.
up, basically the gist of what happens in the short is that it opens. It's pretty much all body cam footage, and it opens with these New York police. Well, they're not. They are police because they were. They have like the New York police badges and
So
whatnot.
real
But it's
quick, it's internet horror artist Oleg. I'm gonna butcher the shit out of this.
butcher his
Bircher. You know I can't say things.
It's okay, neither can I.
Vidovenko, Vdovenko.
Mm.
Art piece by the same name. So it's called Stork.
But yeah, it basically follows these police officers that aren't at. You learn that they're not really police officers. They're this like secret team.
Called Warden.
Yeah, it's like this program that's called Warden, and
They
they
hunt monsters, basically.
yeah, and they go into this.
This, by the way, is my favorite of the bunch. I think this movie starts out strong with my personal favorite short of all of them.
It was my favorite, and then one later on down the road happened, and I
know which
I
one
could
it is.
I loved it. I could kind of tell where it was going, and I was so happy, even though what happens is awful. But basically, they go into this derelict house that has these like zombie people in it, and they do the equivalent of like a SWAT raid of the house and start
and it's all
going in and killing these zombified
so
people.
like a majority of this short is just played off.
It's just it's mostly an action short.
Yeah, it's played off like Hardcore Henry, basically,
Yeah.
just like a action shoot 'em up video game. It's basically just like an FPS.
Yeah, because it cuts back and forth between like body cam footage as well as one of the guys had he had like he had like an actual like he was holding the camera more like documentary style while the others were just attached to their bodies, and it was really just a bunch of action happening of them. You mean you made a joke and it made sense. You said what was the joke? It was the Left 4 Dead joke. You said what was it called? The bloater or whatever.
Oh, the bloater. The one
yeah.
bloater shows up and he's all like puking up and shit.
Yeah. But so it's kind of, I guess it doesn't sound that interesting to describe, but it's mainly just a bunch of like action happening where
there's a really cool shot of a chainsaw from like a first person perspective as it's like cutting a dude in half.
Well, what makes that shot cool besides the chainsaw was the dude that gets cut in half first. He was like gunned down initially, but then so the guy that was gunned down, the zombie, he had a chainsaw and he gets gunned down, and they need the chainsaw to get into an area that's upstairs that was blocked off. So they go to get the chainsaw. When they get the chainsaw, the guy comes back to life and he has like this long ass, like I think it was a practically done like tongue that's like articulated.
Like a mouth. His mouth open like elongates.
Yeah, and then he like cuts like the tongue off, and I think he cuts him in half or something.
Yeah, he cuts him like diagonally down the body, and it's all from like a video game POV of the chainsaw doing it.
Yeah, and they learn because they see like there's like a moment.
Oh yeah, going into this, the reason why that did you cover the baby stuff yet?
No.
Okay, yeah. So at the very beginning of the short too is.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, you just let me tell it. You just jump into this shit. You're just like, I'm gonna do it.
As usual, I forget certain key elements.
No,
of
yeah.
The plot
So
getting
into this, so when they're like at the brief at the beginning of this, the team is talking. It's a bunch of missing babies.
Yeah.
Like the baby napping. These aliens are baby napping.
Yeah, it didn't even to me. This didn't really come across as like aliens as much. This came across more like Lovecraftian. This one because of what the main creature that's at the very end.
Mm-hmm.
Like when it's revealed, it felt very Lovecraftian. But yeah, I did forget to say that. That's the reason why they're there, is because a bunch of babies are being abducted, and they've traced it back to this particular home. And in the home are all these zombies that they wind up murdering.
Mm-hmm.
And they notice in like an interim scene, kind of near the beginning, when they have like a moment of silence after they've like shot a bunch of them. They notice on their foreheads that they have like
Tape.
there's like tape essentially,
Yeah.
yeah, on their foreheads, and
With like with a symbol on it.
yeah, and they the bloater guy, it was the one they like shoot his knees out, and he's like
Just
on his knees.
Yeah, he's just sitting there.
Yeah, and they take the tape off his forehead and like
He doesn't have a brain.
yeah, like not like they full on just show like the inside of his skull, and there's nothing in there anymore. So they take the chainsaw and they chainsaw down the barrier to like the attic essentially. And in the attic, it reveals that there's a bunch of what are they called? Like baby
Cradles.
Cradles. There you go. Baby cradles, and there's like weird, like deformed babies in that
All
are
the
alive,
babies have been
like
mutated,
transformed.
yeah.
Yeah. And then it pans over, and there's the stork.
There's a stork
which-
creature.
It's basically this like it has like a weird like fat human body with this long neck and the head of this like
Bird.
bird.
Creature.
Yeah.
And it's sucking the brain out of one of the characters that went off on his own.
Yeah, that's right. One of the it's set up earlier. One of the SWAT guys has like issues, and he like
Yeah.
that was kind of made me laugh when he like after they were going upstairs, and he just like bulldozed through him, and he's like no, going up, he's like running up the stairs, and they're just let him do his thing, and he basically just winds up getting himself
They tell
killed.
him beforehand, they're like,
Get your
like,
shit
if-
together.
if you're gonna do this, we're not gonna bring you. And he's just like, you have to bring me.
Yeah.
He's like, you need me. And it's like, not really, guy. You kind of just, he goes off on his own, like at the beginning, too. He
Yeah.
just like does his own thing, and he's just angry. And then
Yeah.
anyways, the stork's eating his brain. And then he
Yeah.
comes back as a zombie, and he attacks the camera guy.
Yeah.
And the stork's cool for all of 5 seconds before they're just like, light it up, boys.
Yeah. And they absolutely just shoot
They
the hell
just
out
all
of this
light
thing.
it up, and then the camera drops, and
And the stork's like head drops into
Mhm.
frame, and you can tell that it's not like completely dead, because it like kind of squints its eyes for a moment and then kind of like pauses, and they all like exit the room, and it starts to come back alive. And this was like the first big laugh. It was like a good laugh. It wasn't like stupid. It was just like caught me off guard, because like it's coming back alive, and you hear one of the other guys just like doot walking back in.
Yeah.
And
It's like-
he skull stomps the fuck out of this
yeah, like
thing.
his eyeball pops out.
Yeah.
And it looks all practical too.
Which is great. Like
Yeah.
it didn't look, if it was enhanced by CGI, just like the creature in general, like you really couldn't tell that
Yeah.
much. But the best part is that like he skull stomps the hell out of this
Yeah.
thing, and it
I love
hard.
just the sound effect of him running.
literally-
because it's so cartoonish. It's like, "Do-do-do-do-do-do."
Yeah, like in the sound effect it made of like its head getting caged, it was just like.
yeah,
But then as soon as that like happens, it hard cuts to like a aftermath photo of like the remaining
they're
team.
like holding up the stork.
Yeah, like a- like-
war trophy.
Yeah, like a war trophy, and its head's all caved in and shit. And one of the guys is like flipping off the camera and
Yeah.
everything.
It's great.
It was great.
It's my favorite one.
Yeah.
It's just a giant.
It's my second favorite.
I compared it at the end. I was like, it reminded me of playing like Resident Evil
Yeah.
Village, basically.
Yeah.
It's kind of has
Just in
that
this, like,
vibe to
derelict
it.
house.
Yeah, it has this vibe to it that's very like video game esque.
Yeah,
Um,
it did feel like a Left 4 Dead level, honestly. Like just this
I
completely
think that's a
infested
better way
house.
to describe it, is like Left 4 Dead with the amount of like zombies that like come
Yeah.
after them and all the like chainsaw and guns that they have
Yeah.
and shit.
Because there's also this creepy moment where like they hear the guy that ran off, and like they hear him through a wall, and they like stick the camera in the wall because they're trying to like see what's going on, and they like finally turn a light on. And there's just a guy in the wall, just
Yeah,
like,
there's a zombie. They see him later, but they don't
yeah.
kill him or do anything.
He doesn't even die. He just
He
walks
just
away.
he goes through a door, and then they're
Yeah.
like, forget him.
Yeah.
And they just walk off.
Yeah.
And then they go kill the stork.
Yeah. But that really is everything that happens in it.
Yeah.
Honestly, there's
It's
like
pretty-
cool. The main like thing about it is, besides like the creepy shit with the stork itself, was just like the action and the
Yeah.
gore and whatnot, which is really well done. I liked the zombie designs as well, because they weren't like super over the top. It was mainly just like
Yeah.
some face makeup, besides like, you know,
and they weren't
torn
like
clothes.
traditional zombie. They had like something weird with their eyes too.
Yeah.
They had like blue eyes, like big blue eyes. That's
Yeah.
what gave me like the alien vibe to it. It was almost like they were transforming into.
Oh yeah, there was another moment in that. Sorry, go ahead.
No, just
There- I-
transforming into like some sort of alien creature.
I remember just now there was a moment where like they get to it's like when they're going up into the attic or something like that,
yeah.
and they like look up at the ceiling, and there's like a hole in the ceiling, and directly below it is this like big like rock thing,
Mm-hmm.
which I guess is supposed to be like an alien thing, but it doesn't come across to me as aliens. It came
Yeah.
across as like more like ethereal horror. I mean,
Yeah.
like it came from space, but not like,
Yeah.
oh, it's an alien kind of thing.
Yeah.
But that was the stork. It was one of, if not the best one in the entire. It
Mhm.
started off really strong. I can't remember the order. I do not remember what the second
The next
one
one
was.
is Dream Girl.
You start. We just watched. You start.
Yeah. It starts off with it's in India.
Oh yeah. That's
And
right.
it starts off with some paparazzi trying to get paid by sneaking some pictures of some Bollywood stars.
Yeah.
They get information from their boss about them shooting a movie down at
Like a studio.
a studio somewhere, so they want to go get their like behind the scenes like
Exclusive.
exclusive
scoop
footage.
Yeah. Because they're like, oh, we'll make a good amount of money because it's like, and like it's set up because like it's supposed to be like a really big actress is in
Yeah.
it and whatnot. Long story short, there's like they get there really.
Yeah,
like, and
the first half of this one is just kind of like getting there, and then they show up.
yeah, and they
and
show up
then
and
it
there's like a
switches
there's like
between-
a
There's like a little dance number. That's what.
yeah, there's like a straight up literal straight up like Bollywood dance
Mhm.
number that
and
happens.
it's shown through the like cinematic camera lens.
Yeah, it,
That's
like,
how they kind of make the excuse to
yeah, it cuts
make
back
it
and
look more like a movie.
Yeah.
Is because they're filming the movie. So
yeah, they cut back and forth between like that and like their like more low end footage when
Mhm.
they're behind the scenes and whatnot. And something happens. I forget.
I
Something
think
happens.
she misses her mark or something in the dance, and
Yeah.
the director freaks out.
Yeah, the director freaks out and like has like a hissy fit.
And he's like,
To
"Oh, fuck you
her.
guys!"
Yeah, he's like, you guys are so like fucking unprofessional or something like that. And he goes over to her specifically and like kind of singles her out. And he's like, hit your fucking mark kind of thing. And like,
Yeah,
so the director and like the main actress they both go back to her like trailer.
no. First, the two paparazzi dudes go to the trailer.
No, yeah,
because the one dude sneaks into the trailer and then hides in the closet
yeah,
to
and
get
then-
shots of her.
Yeah,
Or is it the bathroom because he like backs up?
it was something like that.
yeah,
He
it's a
he's-
bathroom or a closet.
Yeah, and he's in the closet like looking. He's in the closet looking through the like blinds of the
Yeah.
closet, and in the trailer is the director and the actress, and the director is like being like belligerent towards her, and then it's like hinted that there's like something else going on because he like grabs her face and gets like weirdly like intimate with
Yeah.
her, and then for like a good like solid couple seconds there's just like he's just looking at her in silence.
Yeah.
And then he like stops and exits the trailer, and then the actress starts, she like looks, she like starts to do her makeup, and then she just like breaks down crying.
Yeah.
And the guy in the closet, he
he like
backs
falls.
up.
Yeah,
He like backs up for some reason and like turns around.
well, first his
Oh wait,
hand
his hand.
slips
Yeah,
into some goopy goop
yeah,
that's in the closet bathroom,
yeah, and he like turns
and he's like,
around.
"What is this cum?"
He- exactly. It literally looked exactly like K and Y jelly.
Someone was having a good time in
Yeah,
there in the closet.
but he turns around, and there's just like in a bowl.
A
There's like
bowl of ice.
yeah. There's like a face, and he's like, "What the fuck?" And he like
but
kind
not
of
like a cut off face. Like it
no,
looks like a silicone face or
yeah.
something.
So he like freaks
And
out
me
a
and
bit.
Patrick were talking about like we thought it was going to be like a robot. No, we thought it was going to be an
No.
alien.
Yeah, yeah. So it winds up not being an alien.
But
So,
we were kind of close to the mark on
yeah.
this
So
one.
he like freaks out for a second and like makes his presence known to her.
Yeah, by
And she's
accident.
and
And it comes out of the closet with the KY jelly.
Yeah, and she's
Which
like,
I'm
"What
sure-
are you?" And she's like, "What are you doing here?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Like, I'll leave and whatnot." And he
tries
he
to
start-
like make. He's like, I was here to drop off a gift basket.
yeah, he tries to make excuses, and then at some point he
She's
starts
like, "Do you want a selfie?"
yeah.
She just doesn't like acknowledge that it's like weird that he was in there.
Yeah, and then he tries to like he starts like complimenting her
Yeah,
and the way he calls her like a goddess or something like that.
He's like giving her a lot of compliments.
And something about like him saying that to her like gives her like some self-confidence and she starts like no, she doesn't start laughing. She like looks at herself in the camera and starts like taking she like grabs her face and starts like taking her face off.
Face off.
Face
Sorry.
off.
Face off.
My face off.
Off.
She takes her face off and reveals that she's like she's like a robot, basically.
She's a robot.
And
She doesn't do it in the camera. She does it in front of the mirror away
Yeah.
from the camera. They do the little tricky trick where she like turns
Yeah.
around.
he
and
like
she, like,
turns the camera around really quick and there's clearly like a cut and it
And then
cuts
she
back.
turns around and like half of her face is gone and it's like a robot and she's like, I want your face because she wants
Yeah.
to like take his face to be a common person. She doesn't want to be like some superstar. And he's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, so then he like exits the trailer and
He books it.
yeah, and she like steps out and keep in mind this is on like a film set.
Yeah, so everybody's there.
Everybody's there and like really confused and she just starts murdering people.
Well,
basically.
the director first. The director
Oh yeah,
comes
she like
up
throws
to like,
up like acid.
yeah,
shit
the
on his
director
face.
comes over to try to stop her, and he's just like, okay. He's like, okay, it's time to get back in the trailer.
Yeah, and she's
And
like,
then she's
no.
like, fuck you.
Yeah, she just like literally like upchucks acid onto his
Yeah.
face, and he's like,
And then he peels off his own face. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I
that's
forgot. That's a Narnar death. I love that one.
yeah, he literally like he's like, oh, and just
yeah.
like
He
peels
like
his
peels
own face
own
off.
face off. Face
And-
off.
Face off. It reminds you, super hot,
Super
face
hot.
off. So he peels his own
A
face
lot of
off.
face stuff.
Yeah, and he or she then basically she starts like re-entering like the studio space.
Well, she chases him, and everybody's like
Yeah, that's
running
right.
away
Yeah,
from
yeah.
her, and they all go back into the studio and like, do they try to shut the door or?
I don't remember exactly. The point is that she gets in.
Yeah,
And
she's basically just terminating it.
yeah, and she at some point somebody like I think she like throws somebody into some kind of like electrical.
No, she
Shit.
powers herself
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
she
she-
grabs. That's right. She grabs like a power line
and then
and literally like
sticks it,
sticks it in her chest and like powers herself up.
yeah, to do a dance number.
Yeah, she does. Yeah, and part of the reason why she powers herself up is because she like releases all of the electricity and it like
Mhm.
kills almost everyone in
Yeah,
the room.
it goes black and then
It's like strobing the lights
yeah,
and whatnot.
it's like yeah, so people with epilepsy are not gonna enjoy this one.
No. Yeah.
It's not a sequence
No.
that's friendly
For the yes.
epileptic.
Epileptic. Yeah,
Epileptic.
ep-
I don't
however-
feel like I'm saying that right.
I don't
at
either.
all.
You know what we're trying to say though.
Epileptic.
Yeah, I think it's epileptic.
Yeah, doesn't that sound
Epileptic?
weird to say?
It does.
Epileptic.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm
Epileptic.
still saying it wrong.
Yeah,
though.
me too. The point is an epilepsy scene happens.
You
And
know, one of those.
yeah, and so the guy is like running
Oh yeah,
away the
people like
entire
full on
time.
explode. They're
Yeah.
like blowing up, and there's blood everywhere. And
She
then there's
basically shoots like lightning out of herself and
yeah,
kills people.
and it's like flashing, and every time it flashes, you just see blood spouting everywhere.
Yeah, so like most of the people in the studio are dead, really, besides him, and he's like, just
Him
like,
and the buddy, the two guys.
oh yeah, but the second guy dies though.
Yeah,
He
right
get-
here he dies.
Yeah, he
He's
gets-
like looking for his friend.
Yeah, and he gets killed by her. I don't remember how he gets
Yeah,
killed by
he
her
gets
though.
shoved on the floor by her, and then she sticks her fingers in his eyeballs.
Oh yeah, I remember you commented because you're
Yeah,
like, oh,
because
that's
you-
really gnarly because
Because you can see like his eyeball juices
yeah, it's
going
not like
down.
it's not blood, it's literal like
Juices.
juices.
Yeah. You can see the juicy bits of his eyeballs just strolling down the side of his head, and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
that's fun, dude.
So like the dude that was in the trailer now is the only one that's like alive anymore.
Oh, she overkills the fuck out of
Yeah, so she wait.
Oh
so she,
my
like,
god, this is so funny
well,
because
it
we're
ca-
like, that wasn't necessary at all.
Well, this is also funny because the setup and payoff technically with the cinema camera stuff because like they wind up being in front of the cinema camera and apparently
Oh,
it was
yeah.
like rolling still, so they it's like a more cinematic shot of
Yeah.
him getting killed. So she tackles him, I guess is the word,
Mhm.
and she's on top of him. He's like, "No, please, no!" And she just like full on rips both of
his arms off at the same time. We were
And-
like, wow.
It comes out of like nowhere.
Yeah, just like
Just like
random brutality of
Yeah.
just like some fucking Mortal Kombat fatality shit.
and he's like, ah!
And then she cuts his face off.
She doesn't cut it off. She like grabs it and just like peels it off of
Yeah.
his face, and she puts it on her own face. She puts a face on. Really, she didn't really have a face at that
Yeah.
point. She puts it on top
Yeah, her
of
face is like melting during this whole time.
yeah, there's
thing.
like it's like Terminator because she has like one red eye kind
Mhm.
of thing, and then so she has like this dude's face on her face, and she walks out of the studio and there's like more paparazzi.
and
people
they're like,
out there.
what the fuck
Yeah.
is going
And
on?
has like she's like drenched in blood and has this like other face on top of her, and they're like, "What
Yeah.
the fuck is going
What's
on?"
happening right now?
And she starts like killing more people. And isn't that how it ends?
Yeah, that's
yeah.
it.
It just
That's how it
ends from
ends.
there. It wasn't one of my favorites, honestly.
Yeah,
it was
This is okay.
interesting enough, but it wasn't like that interesting.
Yeah,
And that's really all I have to say about that one.
yeah.
So
The
number
next
3.
one is my second favorite. Live and Let Dive.
Oh yes. So this one involves a group of
Skydivers.
skydivers. It's like a group of friends that are going skydiving for
I think it's
someone's birthday.
It's
He-
the main dude. They're passing around his helmet. I think he's wearing like a GoPro on his helmet.
Yeah.
And they pass it back to him, and he's with his wife. And he's like freaking out. He obviously doesn't want to be there.
Yeah.
And then outside of the plane,
Yeah, the pilot's like, look at like
he's like, look off our starboard. And then somebody in the plane's like, what's a starboard?
yeah, and they like look out the window and like kind of off in the distance is a
There's
UFO.
a UFO.
And it like blinks and disappears for a second. They're like, oh no, that was a UFO. That was so cool. And then it like keeps like blinking around them.
Yeah.
And then
it
they
keeps
they
like disappearing and reappearing.
yeah, and they like notice that, and like
And
a
then there's,
fighter
like-
jet just
yeah.
like straight up like
There's
almost
a couple,
hits them.
yeah. A couple fighter jets
Yeah.
pass them. And they start, and the plane is like freaking out too.
Yeah.
The plane is like bumping something lands on the plane.
Yeah, it was
Which
one of the it's one of the aliens.
Spoiler alert for this
'Cause
short,
you-
there's an alien in this short.
Yeah, because you see like
And they're
a
crazy.
hand. They are crazy. They're really crazy. You see like a hand like on the outside window.
Yeah, hit the
and
window.
then the pilot's like, oh bro, and like the UFO, the ship like appears like directly in front of their
plane.
and they crash into it, and everybody flies out of the plane.
Yeah.
And this was honestly a really well done. From this moment on, the short went up in quality like a lot.
Yeah.
Because up until that point, it was like if I'm being honest, like that whole opening sequence when they're like in the plane, like honestly, like it annoyed the fuck out of me. I
Yeah.
like really didn't like that shit. The second they crashed into the plane and that skydiving sequence happened, I was
Yeah.
like, okay, I'm in again.
Yeah.
Because it was like really well done.
Because
Like,
he's like
'cause
just
it's
falling, and then so it goes from
so the, yeah,
he
so
falls out of the plane.
and like he has it's
And he
from the
sees
perspective of his
everybody-
like GoPro helmet.
Yeah, and he sees everybody around him. One dude immediately does right. One dude lost a leg,
And
he's
his like he's falling and his like
and there's a
the
blood trail.
It's like just directly, falling
yeah,
above
and
him.
that dude doesn't have a parachute either.
Yeah.
And you're like, what the, dude? It's just like the worst.
It's
You can just
like it's a
feel it.
nightmare.
Yeah, it's like it's legit. I feel like I've literally had nightmares about this exact situation happening.
Yeah, and like he looks over and like all of a sudden like one of the aliens is also skydiving.
Yeah, and it like grabs one of his buddies.
I say skydiving. He's just falling and he grabs he grabs another one of the people like down below, and the guy's like,
and
oh,
like shoots off with him, kind
yeah,
of.
yeah, and
And then his shoot's not over. He's like trying to like fuck with
Yeah.
the shoot. He's like, "Why is it not over me?"
yeah, and he finally like gets it open pretty
Yeah.
late, so he
Yeah.
like he hits the ground pretty hard and like
Yeah.
almost like he like passes out for a second, and he gets back up and is like, and they land in the middle of
The
like
dude
an
he's
orange.
jumping tandem with, because they're
yeah.
all jumping tandem.
Yeah,
Because I'm guessing some of them aren't experienced. That the main dude is definitely not an experienced jumper because he's freaked out and it's like his first time, so he has to jump tandem.
yeah. And yeah, so apparently the entire time he must have been attached
Yeah,
to the
that's
tandem
what we were
guy.
kind of confused about with this one because it didn't seem like the main dude was attached to anybody when he was falling, but then
Yeah.
all of a sudden he was.
Yeah, because when he finally gets up and like detaches himself, he like turns
The
around,
guy who was
and the guy that like he
It's,
was
like,
just straight up
decapitated?
decapitated.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like, but his head is still like hanging from like some of the
parachute
chute strings.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh fuck!" And he
Yeah.
looks around and he realizes that they landed in the middle of like an orange field crop, like a bunch of orange
Yeah.
trees and whatnot. And he starts like crying out for like others, and he hears
Yeah,
them
but
and he
then
runs towards
yeah.
them.
But then it's like how the orange trees are set up. You can just like see all the like the creatures kind of like moving.
Yeah, every once
in
in a
between. It's like
yeah,
crawling.
it's like
Yeah, it's like
Yeah. Yeah,
like
and they-
between. It's
it's-
really kind of creepy.
it's creepy.
Before it's like revealed what they look like and stuff. It's pretty like good
Yeah,
like
So-
setup beforehand of like what you're like. What the fuck is happening right now?
yeah. So he finds like another chick that's not his wife. He
Yeah.
finds her, and they wind up meeting up with like
Another dude.
another like two people, I think, because one dude was on the ground like dying,
No,
and
yeah, one dude's dying and then
and the other dude is like
dies,
he does
yeah.
die, and then
because he's impaled. Oh yeah, because of no, when he first hits the ground, you even commented on it. And he's like, you're like, did the plane like crash above them?
oh
And
yeah,
as soon as you said that, all the plane bits like
yeah,
fell
just
down.
fell down.
Oh, and before that, even before that, one of the dudes who fell out of the plane died because he was also not attached to somebody, and you just see somebody
Oh,
go,
yeah.
"Up!"
Yeah, he just straight up like hits the ground
Oh,
full
you don't-
throttle.
You don't
just
get to see the aftermath
No.
of him hit the ground.
no, but you hear it.
Yeah, and you're like, oh,
Yeah. Oh.
oh,
Oh, he didn't
that's
end
not
well.
good.
Yeah, but the dude that was on the ground that they found that had like his face was messed up and whatever. That's when they really start introducing the aliens as
Yeah.
like a real threat, because all of a sudden, I forget, for some reason they like walk off like a little bit, and then they hear like "Rah, rah," and they walk back over, and the dude that was like dying is being like dragged off,
Yeah,
and they're all scared as fuck, so they all start like running.
mm-hmm.
So they're running for a bit, and one of the dudes, so right now he's the main dude is with like a chick
Yeah.
and another like dude friend.
Yeah.
And I
Real
forget
quick,
how it all
Yeah, before we continue, I know it's called Live and Let Dive, and I forgot the main dude that we're following through his camera's name. I'm just gonna call him Richard. So another name for this whole short could be Richard's Very Bad No Good Day.
Oh, for
'Cause it
sure. He
just-
has the worst day
he
ever.
has the worst fucking day throughout this whole short.
It's horrible.
Because he's looking for his wife after he lands.
yeah.
But anyways,
Yeah, so they're like running and they kind of get like
yeah. Well, the
separated
chick gets,
and
the chick
whatnot.
gets taken.
Yeah, an alien just like woof, just like kind of gets her and
Yeah.
whatnot. And he comes, so he's the main dude's running and he's trying to like help the other dude that he can hear is like screaming.
Yeah.
And he comes across him. The dude is being uh
No,
like
first he
held.
finds the chick, and the chick's face is like split open.
That did happen first.
Yeah.
That's his wife, right?
No. That wasn't the wife yet.
Oh,
The chick
you're
that
right.
they took, and then him and the dude run off, and then then that's when the alien takes the second guy, the other guy,
Yeah.
and then that's when you see like the alien and all of its glory.
Yeah, so the alien is like, so they're all CG aliens, like the aliens are CG,
Yeah.
and weirdly, like they looked better close up than they did when they were like scurrying and shit. I don't know what it was about it, but so you come across, I don't even, how do you describe the way they look? They had like, they're kind of like lanky, but they didn't like stand up straight.
Mhm.
They had like weird, like inverted pelvises and shit. They looked like kind of traditional aliens, but they felt more animalistic.
Yeah.
And so
Well, they had they kind of had that. What is it? The centaur.
Yeah.
Centaur look to it, because like the
yeah.
upper body was kind of like the aliens from Signs,
Yeah.
but the lower half was like a bug, almost like a
Yeah.
6-legged bug,
Yeah.
and they like scurried.
Yeah.
It was kind of weird.
It was, I thought it was a good design,
Yeah,
honestly.
it was cool. And then
So he comes across the guy and he's being
go-
like held by the alien.
yeah, and its head opens up
Like,
and
it's-
shoots
it
a
splits-
laser beam.
Yeah, so like in the middle of its face, it like opens up
Mhm.
and it has like a light in it, and it like looks at the guy, and it like the effect itself looks like he like sucked his soul out or something like that.
Yeah, so while it's doing it, he throws an orange at its head,
Yeah.
and it pisses it off. And so out of nowhere, it shoots swords out of its fucking
Yeah,
hands.
it has like Wolverine hidden blades
and
all
then
of a sudden.
stabs his buddy and then electrocutes him to death, and his buddy explodes.
Yeah, and the guy's like, "Oh fuck!" He's just like,
Oh, he has some of the best line readings of
Yeah.
someone who is like actually terrified of what's
Yeah.
going on.
yeah.
He's like, when he's like, "Fuck this!"
yeah.
Like when he's like running off and shit. Oh, it's so he had terrific. Whoever was the first person voice actor for that dude
Yeah.
did great job.
Yeah. So then
That's when he gets away from the alien, and that's when he finds his wife.
yeah, he finds his wife, and so whenever they did do the thing where they like the alien's head split open and they do like the laser beam thing, it like it like peels the face off of the people, like it kind of splits the person's face in half essentially, and like it's just like their skull underneath with their face flaps literally like cut in half.
Yeah.
And that happened to her, and she's just
Yeah.
like dead.
Yeah, nah,
And you were making the joke about like, not my hot wife,
not my hot wife. Whoever played his wife was attractive.
Yes, but that was hilarious when you said that.
He's
It's
like, no,
not my hot wife.
not her. They took her face from me.
Yeah. So he's all upset and shit, and he's
Obviously,
like, yeah, obviously, because
they
yeah,
took the face of his hot wife.
yeah, and
I would be as well.
yeah, and he starts like running, and he comes across like you're not sure what it is at first, but it's revealed to be like a guy driving a truck.
Yeah, at like a farm.
Yeah.
I think it is.
It was probably the guy that
And he
like
just
owned
runs
the
in
farm.
and opens up the car and jumps in, and the
Yeah.
dude's like, "What the fuck?" And he
Yeah.
like pulls out a gun and gets out of the car, and he points it at our main character.
Yeah, the main
Richard.
character has like a John Bernthal moment. It's like, no.
Yeah.
and then so
The
that
dude's
happens
like,
for,
"I'm gonna get you to the count of 5."
and he literally starts counting.
Yeah, and he's like, "No, there's alien." He's like, "There's some out there. I swear to God, there's fucking aliens."
Yeah.
And he continues counting,
Yeah.
and you're like, "You're just gonna get shot." And then an alien jumps the dude and shoots his fucking hand in
Yeah.
half.
Yeah. It shoots like his pinky and whatever the other finger is off.
Your
and he's
ring
like,
finger?
yeah, you're on like his right hand.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh fuck. And like you see the
It's like hanging off.
yeah, and he like looks over and like
Oh,
the aliens.
and this scene actually, this is the first jump scare that actually got me for some reason.
It was really simple too.
Yeah, I loved it as well. Dude,
It
I don't
got
know.
you.
Dude, it got me hard.
You screaming scared me more than what happened because I wasn't expecting you just be like, ah!
I literally, I screamed.
Yeah.
I was like, ah!
Yeah, because all that. So like the way the
Yeah.
jump scare happens is like the camera's looking over at the guy, like it's looking through the back of the truck at the bed, and he's the guy that's being like, mutilated by the alien. He's like kind of covered up by it. And the guy looks to his right again, and all of a sudden there's another fucking alien right in his face. And
But there's no like music or anything.
No, it just
or-
happens.
It's just there.
Yeah.
He looks over and then he looks back and it's just there. There's no like "Meow" or
Yeah.
something like, and it's not like in it.
There's no
It's
like
just in his face. It doesn't move or like make a jump at him or anything.
Yeah.
I don't know why it got me so bad. It was just
it kind of got me too a bit because it was just like, oh fuck, it's just
yeah.
there.
It's just there. It's just there.
Yeah. And then so like its face opens up, and I don't know. I don't. This is kind of where some of like the I have like
Yeah, so its
questions
face-
about how these things
Yeah.
work, but because at first we thought because of the like knife hand things, we were like, are these like cybernetically enhanced like
Yeah.
aliens? But when it opens up its face and reveals like the light thing, I thought it was like a cybernetic thing underneath, but like when you had a close up shot of it, it looked organic.
Yeah.
But the point is that it opens up its face and like lasers the guy. But when it's done lasering him, all of a sudden like
It's
the
gone.
the
It's
aliens are
disappeared.
gone, and like
He tries to.
he's
drive
still in the truck.
Yeah.
And he tries to drive away, but the truck like won't move.
Yeah.
Like you literally see like the tires spinning out,
Mm-hmm.
and then all of a sudden you start like shit in the car starts like floating upwards,
Yeah.
like tools and whatnot. And then he looks behind him, or outside I should say, and he sees that like dust and shit that's like being kicked up by the tires is floating upward as well. And then him and the entire truck just start floating up into the sky, and he's essentially being abducted
By the ship.
by the ship. And then he like gets into the ship,
Yeah.
and then
Like a giant
Like a-
mine thing.
yeah, like a giant version of that like face laser thing the aliens use.
Yeah. Just comes out and goes.
And he's like, ah, and it
then
cuts to
it
black.
ends.
And that's where it was like, what?
What just happened?
Yeah, well, yeah.
So Richard's very bad,
No,
terrible day.
terrible,
good,
no good, very
bad
bad day.
Lost his hot wife. Fell out of the plane.
Lost his hot wife. The ultimate loss.
Yes.
So that was the third. Wait, yeah, the third one.
that was the third one, and the next one is your favorite one, Fur Babies.
I could tell. So okay, I could tell almost immediately, kind of where this one was going.
It starts with an infomercial.
Yeah.
Or a commercial.
It's like a commercial. It's like
Yeah.
a very homemade commercial by this woman who has like a dog sitting.
Daycare?
Yeah, it's like a doggy daycare thing.
Yeah.
And and she's like, you're like, oh, no, kind of thing. And then like the camera pans out to like
this one's written and directed by Justin Long.
yeah, weirdly. And I mean, it makes sense, but like
Yeah.
of all the people you'd expect to be in like a VHS or to write and
Mhm.
direct something, like all of a sudden he's in this or
Mhm.
making this. But it was my favorite. It turned into my favorite one as it kept going.
Which kind of surprises me with how
Why?
wild this one gets.
Oh yeah, this one. That's why I liked it, because it's like kind of funny,
Yeah.
but then it gets really dark.
Yeah.
So okay, so the commercial that this woman. Oh, okay. Wait. In the commercial, she's like standing in front of her like mantelpiece, and on like her fireplace mantelpiece, I mean, and behind her are these like three stuffed dogs. And the way that they are stuffed is so fucking hilarious.
Oh yeah.
Like
It's terrible.
it's terrible.
It's a terrible job.
Yeah.
And their eyes are like googly eyes.
Yeah, they're like little like orbs that
Oh,
are like
it's
with like their little like Sharpie marker like pupils
yeah.
and shit.
It's like a Dollar Tree fucking taxidermy.
So she's like standing in front of those, and she's giving her like little thing to like sell her business. And the camera like pulls out, and it's like a YouTube video, and it pulls out even more. And there's like this like
Basically
very,
like,
like-
PETA group.
like very like grassroots PETA organization filled
Yeah.
with like millennial Gen Z
Yeah.
people, and they're like, oh, there's like weird shit being
They're
reported.
like,
Like
look at those dogs in the back. That's murder. They killed those dogs.
they
and
mutilated those
They
dogs.
mutilated those dogs.
Yeah, so they wind up doing this thing where they're trying to like get her whole business shut down.
Yeah.
So they send in two people, like a guy and a girl, and they have like they bring an actual dog with them, and on the dog carrier is like a hidden camera type thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so when they get to the home, most of what happens, at least initially in the home, is
Them, like,
from the perspective of the dog carrier. So they get in, and the woman's being all, frankly, like she was in the commercial, and they're like telling her about the dog and whatnot,
and
and she pretty
already
much immediately starts giving off like weird
immediate weird
vibes.
vibes.
And a weird, interesting thing is
Like you said, the boomer humor situation.
There was some
weird, like, because they ask her something about like feeding. Oh, do you live alone? Because she runs this thing out of her house.
Yeah, it's out of her. Yeah, it's out
And
of her
she's
house.
like, "Do you live alone?" And then she responds with,
like kind of seriously.
yeah,
she's
and
like,
she's
you
like-
shouldn't ask questions about my personal life.
like, it sounds like you're trying to go dig in my personal
Yeah.
life.
And they like kind of like have this moment of
And
silence,
she's like,
and she's like,
"I'm just kidding."
and she's like, yeah, she's like,
And you-
I'm just joshing you
yeah,
guys.
and
kind
you
of
turn
thing.
to me and you're like, "Boomer humor."
Yeah. I was like, that was perfect.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, while they're like getting like the tour, right? Like it's cutting to a separate camera angle of like a clearly like very degraded VHS tape, like
Yeah.
camcorder, and it's like supposed to be like somebody else is in the home with them,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's cutting every once in a
Did
while.
you say VHS?
I said a camcorder.
Yeah, but it says you said it's VHS. That reminds me. Brought to you by VHS Beyond. Watch it on Shudder.
Are we sponsored by this movie now? Is that the reason we're talking about this?
No, we're
now,
not
Sim?
sponsored by it, but I'm just telling
Are you
to
putting
go
the
watch
feelers
it.
out there? You're like, hey,
Hey, Shudder.
hey, Shutter, would you like some promotional
We got
material?
7 followers on Spotify.
Yeah, we have 3 subscribers on YouTube.
Sponsor us.
Sponsor us. Exactly. But there was a really good moment though when the woman like is looking, she's like interacting with the dog they bring initially, and she like notices that there's like a hidden camera, and she just like pauses and looks at it for a solid like 3
Mhm.
seconds, and her face just goes completely just like nothing is there, and then she immediately goes back into okay guys kind of thing.
I thought the conversation beforehand was weird too.
It
Because
was.
she's talking about the names of dogs, and then she just decides to
yeah,
because they said that the dog's name was Pickles
yes,
that they're bringing in, and she just decides to rename the dog because she thinks it looks more like a different name.
it was like Jeffrey or something
yeah,
like that.
and so she like leans down and she's like, "Okay, Jeffrey," and they're like,
and the chick,
"What
and
the
the chick
fuck?"
is like, his name's Pickles.
Yeah. And then that's when she notices the camera. But I was just thinking, I was like, if someone did that at some like home in shit, I'd be
Yeah.
like, I'm good.
Yeah,
Thank
I would.
you.
Yeah, same. I would leave at that point. I'd be
Yeah.
like, this is getting weird.
Yeah, this is getting too weird.
So she's like continuing the tour, and they all of a sudden they like see that there's like a guy just sitting in like the dining room.
Yeah, by himself, just staring at nothing.
He's wearing like overalls and like a yellow
Yeah.
shirt, and they're like, I thought you said that you lived here by yourself. And she's like, oh yeah, I mean, she's like, oh, it's like I live by myself, but you know, what was his name?
Bo.
Yeah, she's like, Bo practically isn't here, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then
Then she takes him down.
she's like acting as if she's continuing the tour. So they go into like her basement, and it's straight up like a serial killer den,
yeah.
like a
Not
warehouse.
just it's like a warehouse basement.
Yeah.
Like, how is this whole thing under your house?
Yeah.
And why would you follow this person into? She has like a whole
it's very like Parasite-esque,
Yes.
where it's like all of a sudden there's like this whole underground like bunker
Yeah.
underneath this like normal house.
Yeah. And then she's like, there's the dog pen, and
Yeah.
here's all of this like laboratory equipment.
Yeah. And then
Oh, my little art studio.
yeah, she describes it as her art studio, which made me laugh out loud. Because
Yeah.
I was like, that's an amazing description of what the fuck is going
Yeah,
on right
she
now.
has this little like setup in the corner where there's like all these like pictures of like how humans, like a human anatomy and shit like that,
Yeah.
and all these like tools and like very serial killer esque.
It's
Area.
literal. You start seeing like surgical equipment
Yeah.
shit. And this is when I was, it sounds so fucked up. And I was like, yes, the concept is being fulfilled right now. Because I before like we're about to talk about, before it was revealed what was really going on, because I saw those dumbass dogs on her
Yes.
mantelpiece. And I was like, is this going to be a thing where like the dogs come alive and start like attack? She has like an army of like these little like taxidermied like zombie dogs. I wasn't far off.
Yes, it's close.
It's close.
And then I guessed one, and I was getting
you said
closer.
it, and I was like, "Oh yeah, that's
And
definitely."
then
what's
you're
about
like,
to happen.
yes.
Yeah, I was like, "Yes,
Yes.
this is exactly what I."
And then you
want
saw
this
the
to be.
surgical equipment, and you're like, it's happening.
My dreams are being fulfilled. So,
It's happening.
so,
But the laugh was.
What happens with these two? What happens next exactly?
Oh, it's just immediate. Well, she's like, she has the little surgical station, and she's like, that's just my little art studio. And you're
Mhm.
like,
yeah,
But then she stops at the door, the sheet that she has.
yeah,
And she's like, and this is the area where we keep bad people that ask too many fucking
Yes,
questions.
yeah.
And she just lays down all her cards right there, and she
Yeah.
unveils that she has somebody in the cage,
like a dog,
like a
cage.
dog cage, and she's like speaks to him like a dog, and then
and
Bo,
makes him speak back to her like a
Yeah.
dog.
and then that's when Bo comes out and
What does he do?
he gets the guy. I forgot how they get the girl. I missed it.
They basically knock both of them out
Yeah.
somehow, and it cuts to like later,
Yeah,
and
She's
it
doing, like,
it
mad
wa-
scientist.
yeah.
diary.
So like it cuts to her speaking directly to the camera, as if she basically like almost like she has like her own camera setup. It's like she's documenting her like experiments pretty much, but she's talking to the camera as if she's like this lifestyle YouTuber of like talking about like, oh, these are my dogs. They have such quirky personalities kind of thing. But she's in this like serial killer like dungeon. And she like pans over and there's the two people that they knocked, the two people from the like grassroots PETA
Yeah.
are in more dog cages. And before she panned over to that, she was talking about how she recently got like these like bone jaws from other dogs, like real bone jaws. And she pans over and they're in these dog cages, and in particular with the girl. Okay, wait, hold on. First of all, she starts like speaking to the guy that's in the cage like a dog, and he's like, "Please stop!" And she like starts hitting the cage, and she's like, "No, you don't say please. Dogs don't say please. You bark."
yeah.
And he's just
You
like,
should have seen Patrick's eyes as he said that
Yeah,
to me. He was like,
yeah.
"You bark." They've just got like really wide.
well, that's
and
how she's
yeah.
like, "You bark like a dog." And she's like hitting the cage.
She's basically a South Park character come to life.
Yeah,
is the best way to
and the
describe
guy's
it.
in the cage. He's like, and you're just like, holy fuck.
This is hilarious, but sick
It's
and
so-
twisted.
And it pans, so she pans over to the chick, and she clearly has like surgically removed her jaw and
Her
inserted
bottom jaw, not the full thing.
yeah, just her bottom jaw, and has replaced it with a dog jaw.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, like the swelling will go down, kind of thing.
yeah.
And
She's like, treat time will be a good time once the swelling goes down.
Exactly. And she starts, one of the two at some point started freaking out, and she like injects them with like a
Yeah.
serum to make them stop.
More cum.
Yes, more cum sim.
That's what I just expect
Yes.
at this point.
So then it cuts back to like the
I
the
love this
grassroots
part.
PETA,
Yeah.
and they're like, okay, we have
They're like, he has like a baseball bat, and he's like, "We're gonna break in
Yeah.
and save our friends, and then we're gonna call the cops."
exactly.
And then the dude behind the camera, he's like, "Because cops are fascist pigs, right?" And then the dude talking, he's like, "She's like, Pat, shut the fuck up. I got this."
So then they like storm the place,
Yeah.
pretty much.
And then the chick starts crying out for help,
yeah,
and so they're
they
like,
figure out they're in the basement.
yeah. So they go down to the basement.
Well, before they go into the basement, they see the dogs and they're like, this is like the dogs on the mantelpiece. And they're like,
Yeah.
this is fucked up. And they hear her crying out for help
Yeah.
and they go into the basement. Go ahead.
No, do you want to finish it off?
No,
Because
no, go ahead.
no, I want you to finish this off because then this is when it's revealed.
Oh, yeah. So they go down there.
They see their friends in the cages and getting like all fucked up and shit.
Yeah, and they're trying to like get the upper hand on them. And then behind like a curtain that's silhouetted by a light, the woman says something like I forget what she says. She has like a little quick like monologue thing. It doesn't
Yeah.
last very long. And then she calls out like she's like calling out like her like pets, quote unquote.
Yeah, and they're
And
the
s-
same names as the dogs that
Yeah.
she was calling, like of her old dogs that had died.
Yeah.
So that she's basically like replacing her dogs.
Yeah. So out come these Tusk-esque fucking dog humanoid creatures.
Yeah, so basically she's sewn,
she's like put
she's surgically fully transformed these people into dogs.
yeah.
And obviously
And they're like
we compared it to Tusk.
But-
And
well,
then
they-
also Justin Long, who was in Tusk,
that's
helped
probably
write-
why.
yeah, wrote and directed this. So
Yeah, he's like, I need to get some of my issues out, guys.
yeah, he's like, what if it was dogs?
Yeah, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
So they come out and they clearly are completely mentally broken because they're
Yeah.
legit acting like dogs.
Yeah, they're vicious.
and they're like literally trained to like her will. It's in the fucked up part is it's not just like two adults. It's like
Yeah.
an adult and clearly like a child.
yeah, because
that have been
the other one's supposed to be one of the silly fucking dogs from the mantle. That's
Yeah.
what she called. Like, what was it, like Harold or something?
Yeah, one was called Harold, one was called Gary.
Gary, because she calls him Gary.
Yeah.
The kid one, because the Gary was a small dog. It was like one of the small dogs on the mantle. That's why it's
Mhm.
like a kid.
Yeah. So she literally sicks these people on the grassroots PETA team and they
Yeah.
get fucking annihilated.
Immediately, there's no fight.
There's like they
There's
barely
no
put up a
fight.
fight.
Yeah, there is no fight.
And also it's cutting back and forth between like the cinematic it's not cinematic, it's like other camera footage and like the Bose like VHS footage of
Yeah.
like showing what's going on.
yeah, and they all get eaten immediately.
And then so they all get eaten and then it cuts
then
and then
it
the
cuts-
ending bit is awesome.
It's so fucking funny.
It's hilarious, but
'Cause it
so
cuts-
fucked up.
Cuts to a doggy cam.
It cuts to the kid one.
Yeah.
The kid,
But-
it's a doggy cam on the kid that's a dog
but
now.
it's so funny that it's a doggy cam.
Yeah.
but it's on the human dog creature.
and it's like he's
and he's
literally
just doing dog shit
he's
around
literally-
the house.
He's eating and drinking food.
and he like scratches his like head
Yeah.
like a dog. Oh god!
And then,
I
like-
was laughing. But then a porch pirate comes and
somebody's
tries
like
to
stealing
steal
like their Amazon packages or
and
something.
he tries to go through the doggy door.
and he does go through the
No,
doggy
but
door.
he just busts down the whole door.
Yeah,
They have
that's
like
what-
superhuman
Yeah.
strength for some fucking reason
He
because you
busts-
see the shot and the whole door flies out.
He busts down the whole door and tackles the guy and starts
just
literally like eating his
him.
chest.
Yeah,
And then
it ends.
And I literally was like, I'm so happy right now.
Yeah.
That was like perfect.
That was so
like it was
wild.
so weird and wild and fucked up. And I loved that woman's performance.
Oh, yeah, she
honestly.
was great.
She was really good. She really like did that role well.
Yeah.
She came across as like actually unhinged,
Mhm.
where she's just like, oh yes, my little puppies kind
My
of thing.
puppies.
Yeah. Favorite one.
Yeah.
up until that point, the very first one,
Karen Frankenstein.
yeah, yes, literally. Like up until that point, the first one, like the Left 4 Dead one was my
Yeah.
favorite, but this one almost immediately I was like, this is my one.
Yeah.
This is the one I'm gonna love. It was amazing. I thought it was great.
And then the next one before we finish the wraparound one, is Stowaway.
Oh yeah, this had what's her name?
Alana Pierce.
Yeah, Alana Pierce. She was
used to work-
from IGN.
She used to work for IGN.
But now she's like her own content creator.
She does
person.
her own content. I know she like streams and does like video game reviews and
Yeah.
a lot of video game stuff. I
Yeah.
haven't like followed her in a while.
That was kind of
but
crazy to see her in this. Actually,
Yeah.
I was not expecting to. There's another.
There
we're
was
gonna talk-
another group
there's
that you
a-
weren't not
yeah,
expecting
there were
during the
just some
wraparound was Corridor Digital.
Yeah. Yes. We'll get there.
I mean, it happened intermittently.
Oh
so we
yeah.
can-
Yeah. That's right. Before
we
this one
already
starts.
talked about
Yeah,
the
that-
wraparound.
Yeah.
but-
Oh yeah. Well, we didn't talk about the ending of the wraparound.
yeah, but they were they came in like the middle of the movie.
Yeah, so like all of a sudden, like in the wraparound story, all of a sudden Corridor Digital is like literally featured. They're like
Mhm.
they're not just like because at first it was like showing like footage. This is in the context of like because they had like a bunch
Yeah.
of series things they did like debunking like alien footage as like just VFX.
And they
footage.
talk about Bosstown Dynamics,
Yeah.
which we talked about a couple episodes back on the
Yeah.
on Steve's episode.
Yeah, so that surprised the fuck out of us because we're like they're back.
the Wendy's Nuggies.
The Wendy's
episode.
Nuggies episode, and then they're actually like in the movie. They're like
Yeah.
actually being interviewed.
as like the debunkers.
Yeah,
as the
exactly.
people who can like pick up CGI and stuff.
Yeah, so that happens like right. They introduced that like right before
Yeah.
they cut into the
There's
stowaway
quite a bit-
story.
yeah, so like a bunch of. I wonder if there's any other kind of like YouTubey people else in this movie. I'm interested. in
There
seeing
might
that.
be. I wouldn't be surprised. I would be.
Yeah,
I would
'cause
not
you
be
had Alana
surprised if like
Pierce,
what was it
Digital-
called? What was the dog one called? This dog story.
Oh, Fur Babies.
Yeah, fur babies. I wouldn't be surprised if some of those like people that got killed and
Mhm.
whatnot were some
Like
YouTubers
YouTubers or something.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyways, Stowaway.
But yeah, Stowaway. I liked this
I
one
actually ended up liking it, and
Yeah.
I like the last like
half.
of it because it gets fucked up.
It gets fucked up and actually like some pretty. Oh, okay, wait, we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, no, but interesting concept. The first half, I'm like, okay, I can kind of see what's happening here.
yeah,
And it gets fucked up in a way that I was not expecting it to get fucked up.
yeah,
Not
exactly.
in like a way that I was like, oh.
Yeah,
It's not at all what I expected.
yeah. So her name's Alana Pierce, right?
Yeah.
So it's Alana Pierce.
And-
Apparently, she's trying to make like a documentary, and I think what's supposed to be like the '90s or something because of
Yeah.
the car she
It
was
supposed to
driving
be
and
the
everything.
Phoenix. I don't think she specifically called it the Phoenix Lights, but
Yeah,
I think it's either the Phoenix Lights or supposed to be based around the Phoenix Lights.
yeah, because she's making this like very independent documentary where she herself is like doing you see her like doing like the little
Yeah.
like bits where she's saying the information and she's like you're seeing the shit that like she would normally cut out of her being like
Yeah.
literally saying like okay, I gotta say this oh,
Yeah.
I
I
fucked
gotta
up
say, oh, fucked up. The camera like falls over.
yeah and it's cutting
After she said, and then she's trying to do interviews, and when like they don't say exactly what she wants, she has this like little dinosaur that she kind of puts in front of the
yeah
camera,
which comes
stuff.
back into play later
Yeah,
but
do you know what the Phoenix Lights are?
yeah
Okay.
I know what they are
They're like
yeah
5 or 6 mysterious lights
Yeah.
that just kind of appeared.
yeah
Um,
so it's pretty much about that. She like interviews like two random dudes.
and then
One of which
a
was-
mom and a daughter,
Yeah.
and then she says later during the interviews that 20 people reported sites had seen them.
Yeah.
And it's the same deal. These like 5 lights appear. I think they're like nightly or something. That's what
Yeah.
she's like looking for or something in the desert. Anyways, yeah.
Yeah, so she's doing this like faux, or it's not faux, she's making a documentary. And she winds up going out into the desert by herself in the middle of the night and winds up seeing the like six lights hovering above like a mountain, a small
Mhm.
mountaintop, and she's like, oh shit, there's like an infrared feature. Because at first
Yeah.
she like sees them for a second, and then they like go away, and she's disappointed,
Yeah.
and then they all actually like appear off in the
Yeah.
distance.
And she does the
And she at first
infrared.
she's like doing like normal footage of it. She's like,
Yeah.
wait, there's an infrared mode. So she like points it on the ground, turns on, and points it back up, and it looked like some ethereal fucking shit.
Yeah, I thought it
that
was
was
gonna,
that was crazy.
I thought
looking.
it was gonna go.
Like Lovecraftian. That's what you said. You're like,
Lovecraftian.
that's some Lovecraftian shit,
I said
Patrick.
that's some Cthulhu shit.
Oh yeah,
right
some
there.
Cthulhu shit. Yeah.
I was like, mm. And then,
So
but
one
then
of
she
the
turns it off,
She turns it off, and then one of the lights kind of like offshoots,
offshoots, and like falls towards Earth.
and she's like, and it falls kind of like with not like close to her, but
Yeah.
she's like, oh shit, it's like
But she-
actually kind of
yeah,
close.
But she chases after it.
Yeah, so skipping forward just like a little bit in time.
Yeah.
She comes up to it, and at first she thinks it's like a light off in the distance.
Yeah.
But as she gets closer to it, she realizes that what she's seeing is the reflection of the camera light
Yeah.
on. It's a literal reflection of her camera light.
Yeah.
And what she comes across is a
Giant,
w- it's like an orb, like a dark
Yeah.
orb that's like has this like constantly moving and changing
Yeah.
like material on it. What's that movie by who's the guy that directed Civil War, the one with Natalie Portman?
Oh.
It's not Arrival, it's not that movie. It's
Uh,
you remember like
he
that
did,
you
he did Annihilation.
Annihilation. Remember in
Yeah.
Annihilation, like that sheen
Yeah.
stuff? It reminded
Mhm.
me of that, but like not as colorful. The way it looked.
It's not Alex Garland, is it?
No, it is Alex Garland.
Alex Garland, yeah.
So it kind of looks like that, but like an orb. It's like this big black, like material orb.
That's funny because we called the earlier one the Dream Girl one. We called it what is it? Ex Machina meets A Star Is Born.
Oh yeah. Oh
And
yeah.
so now we're comparing it. It's all Alex Garland
Yeah.
references today.
Yeah.
Anyways, continue. It's the
But
orb.
It's
Yeah.
it's the orb, and the orb. She's like gets closer to it, and all of a sudden it
And
like
then
opens up.
and,
and
you can't
she-
see into it
No,
either.
not at
Like, the
all.
light won't go into it, and then she decides to go inside. And I was like, this girl,
Is making a dumb decision.
and I was like, is stupid. And I was thinking everything just based
I thought
off
everything
of,
was gonna fall apart after that, to be honest.
yeah. I thought,
And it totally didn't. It actually
Yeah.
surprised me.
yeah, no, this is when it gets.
Really interesting.
Yeah, because they set up some cool shit that comes back, and you're like, oh, that came back in a weird way.
Yeah, real quick thing that we didn't bring up. She's recording, this is actually important to the story. She's recording everything on like a VHS camera, but she's like accidentally recording over like home video footage of like her daughter. And her daughter, you wind up finding out, like, is the one that had that little dinosaur thing that she keeps putting in with the
Mhm.
interviews.
Was it her daughter?
It was something like
I
that.
thought it was
maybe it was
her.
her. It was
I
maybe,
thought it
may
was
have been
her when she was younger.
It was probably her when she was. It was something like that.
yeah.
Anyways, jumping way back to where we're at now.
Yes.
She gets into this orb, and it's very like dark, and it's
Mhm.
made of this like very weird material. And she notices that there's like these very like taut string things kind of
Yeah.
from like the ceiling to the floor. And she goes to like just touch it, and she like barely touches it, and it
And
like
it-
really badly like cuts her finger.
This was funny too because I went dong,
and it
and-
made the exact sound
and then
you made.
right after she touched it,
It did it.
It made the exact sound
was the
that
exact
It was
sound
so fucking funny.
I literally was like, that was literally the exact sound you made.
Oh god. Anyways, yeah.
But
So
so-
it cuts her finger,
And then all of a sudden she starts hearing this like
and I thought it was bugs. Every time
it
something,
kinda- they kinda were bugs in a
nano bugs.
Yeah, so she
but
turns, she like,
every time I thought something bad was going to happen,
it's bugs.
nothing. It didn't happen, and then at the end, I was like, "Oh, that's the bad thing."
Oh yeah. So she turns around, and like on the ceiling, there's like this weird like honeycomb shaped thing, and out of it is
Yeah.
coming this like dust stuff,
yeah,
and it goes over to her finger, and it like heals.
yeah. She's
it.
freaking out. She thinks she's gonna because she drops the camera, and
Yeah.
it's like on her the way she dropped it, and she's like on the floor,
Yeah.
and it just wraps around her finger, and it heals it,
Yeah.
and then it goes back up.
Yeah. And then she like starts walking around and notices that there's like certain areas that have this weird like these weird like particularly like very very dark black like pit looking things like in these pillars in the wall, and she like puts her hand in it, and she like she's like, it does, I forget how she said it, like felt, but it was like just not, it felt, she literally was like, that's like, she's like, this is the darkest like thing I've ever seen, and we were like, that's what she said. But it did look like that. It was an accurate description.
Yeah.
And I think at that is when like the alien came back.
Yeah. Alien
And-
comes back and she hides.
And
But-
the alien like kind of comes on screen,
Yeah.
a little bit.
And then
Like it's
it
very
kinda,
obscure.
like starts the ship, but then goes into its sleeping pod.
Like a hibernation thing, and we were joking. We're like, it's the Stranger Thing. Like it looked like the what are they called from Stranger Things? The flower head things.
the Demigorgons.
Yeah, the Demogorgons.
It's that one Stranger Thing.
Yeah, it kind of looked like that, but you didn't get like a really good view of it, so you couldn't really tell. Anyway, so it goes into like a hibernation pod thing.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, it's like this like rhythmic sound and lights start happening, and she starts. Wait,
No,
sorry.
first
She tries to leave.
No, first she sees that it's collecting animals.
Yeah, that's right.
It has like a tarantula, a squid, an octopus.
There was an octopus.
And it's like filling up the cages of stuff, which is important because that's what it's like actually like healing her with. That's why.
Yeah.
Because it like heals her finger again because she touches it again, the like
Yeah.
sharp stringy thing, and it comes back out and heals her. But this time it's like gives her a claw on her finger.
Yeah, like her fingernail turns into like a long,
Like
like
lid-
angled claw.
Yeah, because it's like using what it, I guess, has or knows.
Yeah, it's using like it's never like explained, but it's
Yeah.
using like what's with whatever is like documented in its system to heal
Yeah.
her. So when it every time so far she's being healed, it's like kind of like her genetics are being changed a little
Yeah.
bit. So then
Which-
which comes into play later.
Yeah.
So
then she realizes the ship is taking off.
yeah, because she
It's a
tries to
countdown.
she tries to leave, but the door that she came in from
Yeah.
is shut, and then all of a sudden there's this like rhythmic sound and lights happening, and it's like do 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 do, and she's like, oh fuck, and
She's
then
like, "Where's the door? Where's the door?"
yeah, and then the ship
Oh,
starts
it's here, I
taking,
swear to God.
and this is where like some of the cool like practical and like visual effects stuff. I mean, obviously there's
It was kind of trippy, honestly.
it was like because
yeah.
the camera like so that it starts taking off, but like the G forces of it taking off like pushes her.
I think it
against-
was also like the oxygen in
Yeah.
the ship because I don't think it was like she could
Meant-
breathe in
yeah.
it. Yeah.
yeah. So she gets like forced against the ground, and it starts doing this really weird like almost like trippy like
Yeah.
ethereal. Like her face starts like overlapping and like
Yeah.
smearing and tearing as it's just like
Yeah.
up into space. And she basically like dies because of
Yeah.
it, but the thing revives her again, and she finds the camera because the camera's kind of just been like
Yeah.
floating. That was a joke I made, by the way. It's the strongest fucking crash
Oh yeah.
cam ever.
Oh my God, dude, this thing survives so much shit.
Yeah, her-
because it's not even over yet. It's
Yeah.
not done. It's not close to.
Yeah.
It's getting closer to done, but it's not done yet.
Yeah, so she gets like by the force of it exiting Earth, she gets like crushed kind of.
Yeah.
And
But it brings her back.
It brings her back, and she's mostly fine.
She's mostly fine, and she says some stuff to the camera, but she's looking out the window and she can see Earth.
Oh, also cool thing is that this entire time she flipped it into infrared mode, meaning it's in black and white.
Yes.
Which was really cool. That's why you made that joke about Rod Serling, because
Yeah.
because as soon as she looked at the window, what did you say?
I was like, because it was like pointing at the window,
it
and
was
I
like
was
looking
like,
at Earth.
and then I was like, this is where the point where Rod Serling would come out and say his ending monologue,
Yeah.
and he would be like, a woman that's trying to discover what's beyond the stars
Yeah.
is now beyond the stars herself. And then she turned the camera. I was like, okay, fuck me then.
yeah. So she's what does she do now that she's
She's
in
just kind of
space?
explaining to the camera. She's like, oh, they must have like. She kind of explains that a little bit. She's like, oh, it was kind of. She even says the next thing that happens. She's like, it must be like he must be
something for like hyperspace
Yeah.
and like the speed at which hyperspace moves or
Oh yeah, because
something.
she set that up earlier, which you totally called, by the way.
Yeah.
Because was talking about that shit early, like in the very beginning of the short,
Yeah.
and that definitely, for sure, comes back into play. Go ahead.
No, and she's explaining to the camera, she's like, "Oh, the pressure must have like knocked me out and stuff, and they like came and healed me." And she says something, and then all of a sudden you see the lights start moving, and then I was like, "They're going into hyperspace."
Yeah,
And
She
she's about to get fucked.
yeah,
And
and she does.
and then that's what happens.
she basically like explodes.
She flies back and the camera flies back. And this is the part where I was like, this is the strongest camera ever.
yeah.
There is no, I was like, what brand is this fucking camera?
I want it
Because
now.
it's still okay. She is fucking obliterated.
Literally, you literally see her like guts and shit like
Because
floating.
then it comes back to, and the camera's still working.
And the thing is,
and
the
it's
camera's floating at like
floating.
0G the
Yeah.
entire time now.
And the blood is like floating and like bits and pieces of her floating. And then you see the nanotech
Come in and, like, rebuild
try
her.
to like rebuild her, but it's using the like
The
rip-
animals, and
animal
everything.
parts,
Yeah.
and then kind of like putting together what it knows, and you can see it's already like kind of fucking her up.
Yeah.
And then you
This is where I made. I was like, she's getting the thing.
No, you were
Oh,
like,
no.
the fly.
No, the fly. She's
Yeah.
getting the fly. That's what I
she's
said.
getting the fly.
Yeah.
And then she's like, oh, they Cronenberged her.
Yeah, they Cronenberged her.
And then she's like, oh, just kill me. It's not worth it. I can't die.
Yeah.
If you think about it, she can't. They just
You really
do that
can't.
as many as possible. And it's impossible they're just going to keep her alive the entire time.
Exactly.
And then, but oh my God, I just thought about it. I didn't even realize that part of it
Yeah, I
either.
didn't either. Yeah.
Because it ends with, that's not even where it ends, because I was like, oh man, that sucks.
Yeah.
And then it goes into hyperspace again.
Yeah.
And then it shoots off and the camera survives again. And then it cuts to her. She's just a blob with an arm and like
Yeah.
teeth. And she's like, ah!
Yeah.
And then that's when it ends.
Yeah.
And now I just realized that she's probably never going to be able to die. It's just
Yeah.
going to keep jumping, and she's just going to be more and more just disgusting every time.
She turns into the blob. From
Yeah,
the blob.
literally.
She becomes
That's a
the
fate
blob.
worse than death, truly.
Yeah,
Oh my
yeah.
God.
So after that, we get to like the wrap up of like the overarching story.
I actually really liked that one.
I liked I liked the ending of that.
I was, like I said, it's not
It
what
was
you
interesting.
expected how it to go, basically.
Yeah.
That's what I liked.
So
You're like, oh, it's an alien. She's gonna go in there. Shit's gonna get fucked up, and the alien's gonna kill her to eat her or whatever. And you're like, it's like, no. It's
mhm.
like you want to see existential dread about space travel, and you're like, oh no.
Yeah. Well, I was saying then it ends. So after that, it wraps up the ending overarching story.
Which I was disappointed in, but
yeah, like there were some cool things in it,
I
but
feel like
it
there was
wasn't
cool,
like
there was so much build up for the wraparound because
Yeah.
they're doing all this
because before they
talking
show
and this story of the oldest or youngest brother, and then the house. They're like, oh, it could have been haunted, or it could have been with aliens, and they're like, we're gonna watch the tapes that were left behind.
yeah, and they amp it up a little bit too because they start showing like the people that have been talking in the interview segments, including Nico, Sam, and Ren from Corridor Digital. They like show them the final like videotape thing that's
they're
supposed
like-
to be like evidence.
Yeah,
And then it cuts to it, and it's clearly completely staged, just to be
Yeah.
honest. But
Yeah.
it was kind of cool though.
yeah. I think the creature looked pretty CGI'd.
Really, I actually
I
thought
thought
I
it
thought it
looked
looked really good.
kinda-
I thought it looked really practical. Actually, the
don't
face
know.
bit looked
I don't
practical.
know. It looked.
Really, I don't know. I had the exact opposite reaction, honestly.
Mhm.
But the point is that
It walks into his room.
it walks into his room and
It
it's like
takes
it's an
out some
alien.
anal beads from his mouth.
Yeah, and it like takes one of the VHS cameras and like sticks it down his throat, and you just get like a full-on camera angle of like the interior of a human throat being like of the what do they call that? The things that
trachea?
yeah, but what do they call those things in the human body that like open and close? The diaphragm.
Yeah,
Like the diaphragm of like his vocal cords, just like kind of thing.
yeah,
And then you
It
cut to
ends.
credits.
yeah.
It was
So-
kind of disappointing, honestly.
Yeah, that last little bit was disappointing. But hey, the end of Stowaway was cool. So
Yeah,
overall,
but the end of the Fur Babies was still my favorite. Fur Babies
I
was
still
awesome.
think I don't
Fur
know.
Babies,
I
Stowaway,
think-
and the first one, whatever that was called,
yeah,
was really
Stork,
Stork.
Live and Let Live, Dive. I think Live and Let Dive and Stork are 1-for-1, maybe my number one. I don't know which one I liked more. And I think Stowaway would be my second. I'm going to go Live and Let Dive is my favorite one because I think I got more excited talking about that one than I did
Mm.
Stork. And I think it was a much cooler concept than just like an FPS. I like Stork a lot. I thought it was really dope. But I'm going to go Live and Let Dive and then Stowaway and then Stork. Wow, I moved Stork from my favorite to my third favorite by the end of this. After talking about them all, I was like, I can do that. I'm allowed that. Fuck you guys.
Yeah.
I'll say that, then Stork, then Fur Babies, then Dream Girl, and then the wraparound.
Yeah, I think that I mean my favorite basically were Fur Babies and Fur Babies, Stork, and then Stowaway.
Okay.
I didn't honestly, I think my least favorite was the Indian
Yeah,
one.
the Dream Girl.
The Dream Girl one. I didn't like Live and Let Dive. I liked it better than the Indian one, but I didn't like that one as much, honestly, because I was more confused than anything
Yeah.
during it. Whereas with like Fur Babies in particular, I was like, I was in, you know,
Yeah.
from the second it started, like, I'm in.
Yeah.
This is like, I love this. This is like a great concept and it's funny and dark as shit.
Yes.
So yeah, I guess that's our review
I think it's
retrospective.
great. I think you should watch whether a good
Yeah, they were
Halloween
they were
spooky time movie.
yeah,
You
most of
can
them
watch
were
it
really
with
good.
Friends, you could watch it alone with the lights off. I think this is a great time. It's a great movie to watch at any time during the spooky season, or if you just want to just have a good time watching some silly shit or some horror shit. I think it has a little bit of all of it for everybody.
Yes, it's not Salem's Lot. That's my
Oh,
review.
God,
It's way
Jesus
better than
Christ.
Salem's Lot.
Oh, it was such a palate cleanser compared to that fucking movie.
Yeah, it was. It was like, yes, definitely.
And in terms of VHS movies, as of right now, I'll rank it as my third favorite VHS movie, which will go VHS 2 is my number one, which I consider just a great horror movie overall, not just a great VHS movie. Like, I think VHS 2 is a perfect example of horror and has terrific shorts in it. VHS 94, I think that's the one with Rat Maw, is my number two. And then this would be 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like I said, I think a second ago, I haven't seen it. This is the
Yeah.
only one I've seen.
Mhm.
I thought it was overall, most of it was really good.
Yeah.
I thought it does make me want to watch. I mean, I'm sure, as you said earlier, you'll just subject me to
Oh,
all
yeah.
of them, but it makes me want to watch like the better ones in particular because I was kind of surprised by the quality of some of them.
Yeah.
In particular. But yeah, I don't really know if I have anything more to say other than go watch it. It was actually VHS Beyond was actually surprisingly good.
It was beyond my expectations.
Yes,
And with that, I'm Sim.
I'm Patrick.
And
we're
we're
Wizard Core.
Patrick, you better answer your goddamn phone. I will find you. I will